Two-state solution. I try to focus, by the way, on Palestinian Christians here, which I think it's a topic that gets you closer to our reality. Two-state solution is not our responsibility to keep. We are a people under occupation. The two-state solution is not just a huge Palestinian concession, but it's a Western idea, not ours. By the way, when the two-state solution first came out as an idea, which was not on the 67 borders, but on UN Resolution 181 of 1947, the Egyptian ambassador in the UN decided to request the United Nations to send the idea of partition of Palestine to the International Court of Justice. Why? Because he knew that legally speaking, the UN had no right to divide our country. I don't want to give a history lesson now, but I think some of you may know that at that time, both poles, the Soviets and the Americans, were supportive of destroying our country, and therefore they did not have the votes. But if the votes in the UN would have allowed for the case of partition to go to the International Court of Justice, we would have never had Resolution 181. And yet, when Israel was accepted in the United Nations through Resolution 273 of May 11, 1949, please go to that resolution. It's very important because it specifies that they are being accepted as UN members after the Israeli delegate confirmed that Israel would first respect the UN Charter, second, implement Resolution 181, meaning two states, and third, implementing Resolution 194 on the right of return of Palestinian refugees. Here we are 74 years later, none of them have been implemented, yet some people still claim to share values with Israel, and not only that, the Western group in the UN, which Denmark is part of, keeps promoting Israeli diplomats to leading positions in the United Nations, including the committee in charge of protecting the implementation of the UN Charter and international law. Now, I took note of one thing I just wanted to focus on. His Excellency spoke, ironically of course, about the painful concessions that Israel should make for peace. He said it ironically, but Western diplomats speak about it truly believing it. Both sides have to compromise. It's not like both sides have to compromise. I mean, there is one side who compromise a lot, and I think we regret it by now. Israel is simply required to respect international law, period. It's not about concessions. But as far as an important part of the international community and most of the Western part of the world continue to, on a daily basis, treat Israelis and Palestinians differently, their policy is not going to change. Now, I don't mind them treating that differently in the sense of them being the occupiers and us being the people under occupation, but that's not what I mean. The difference is that when there is an attack and Israelis are affected by violence, you will find immediately 12 to 15 European ambassadors in Tel Aviv issuing condemnations after 5 or 10 minutes. But when Israeli criminals enter Jenin or Nablus and kill 9 or 10 Palestinians, you need to wait hours and hours and perhaps a day to get an EU statement of deep concern. So the concept of equality, that is the basic principle of international law in the UN Charter, is not there. And who have been the most affected, and here I'm not speaking on trying to make a division between Palestinian Muslims and Palestinian Christians. I think we have proven throughout history that we are one people. But if any community in Palestine has been affected, or the most affected,
by what has been happening since 1948. And again, root causes. It's not 1993, it's not 1967, since 1948 are Palestinian Christians. We spoke I don't want to repeat what we spoke about in the morning, but since I see some new faces, I will say it. When our friends worldwide focus on Palestinian Christians, they usually focus on Bethlehem and Jerusalem, which is fine. But we are about 1 million Palestinian Christians worldwide, and only 50,000 of them live in the territory occupied in 1967. So it's true, there will be no viable Christian presence in Palestine as far as there is a wall dividing Bethlehem from Jerusalem. There will be no viable presence, and I think I truly regret, and I'm in no position, Ambassador, to correct you at all, but I truly regret you did not talk more about your personal experience. And I still remember your late wife was very dear to all of us. How, when he was ambassador in London, had to keep running back home from time to time not to lose her ID in Palestine. And that's something that until her last day, something that we all remember how painful it was that even when she was sick, she had to keep going back home in order not to lose her ID in the place she was born. So Israel is treating, and if you want to focus on Bethlehem and Jerusalem, on a colonization that is not only about the land, because your diplomats talk about the land, meaning settlements. It's a land and the people. When a few days ago the Israeli parliament extends a law, and I want to say it taking what the two previous speakers spoke about, as a matter of Zionist consensus, no right, no left here, they extend a law to only ban family reunifications for Palestinian citizens. I mean, you think the scandal that would happen if Turkey comes out with a law saying that no Turkish citizen can get family reunification if they marry an Israeli citizen for security reasons? What would be the statement of your foreign ministry? To be honest, I think they would deserve a statement because it would be a very racist thing to do. But when the Israeli parliament approves year after year laws that only ban the right of Palestinians to fall in love, that's at the core. Forget about, I'm being very responsible with what I'm saying. Forget about the new announcement of settlements and home demolitions. I mean, it's true, that's what's visible. But the core of the issue is that they don't want us there. So the 50,000 Palestinian Christians left in the territory occupied in 1967, 90% of them living between Ramallah in the north, Jerusalem and Bethlehem to the south, 30 kilometers, where you have the highest concentration of Israeli colonial settlements and movement restrictions. We may not be able to survive much longer, and that's not something I like saying under those circumstances. But even if we are to live in freedom, there is no future without the right of return of our people. And as I said this morning, when I go to Amman, I pray in a church that was built in 1949. It's not a coincidence. When our largest Palestinian Christian congregations are not, it's not just that they are not in Palestine. By the way, when your media, it's wrong to say your media, I don't have to generalize. I had an interview with I always forget the name of the newspaper called the Church of Sweden, and I was really happy with the results of the interview. So I will not say your media. But in general, when Western media talks about the issue of Christian immigration from the Arab world or Middle East, they may focus on acts of violence that took place in Iraq or Syria. And when it comes to Palestine, it's basically about, well, the situation is difficult, so there are better opportunities outside. That's true in some cases. But most Palestinian Christians living outside are living outside because they were kicked out of Palestine. Not because they chose to go and study somewhere and they stayed or they fell in love out. We were kicked out. We are not allowed to return. It's a scandal that most Palestinian Christians cannot pray in Bethlehem. So I don't really want to focus on facts on the ground. Again, I mean, I can talk a lot about settlements and what's happening in my hometown, Beit Jala, and let's go to the core. As you were just reminded, we're entering the 75th year of the Nakba. Again, I will use the word. It's a scandal by its own. 75 years whereby Israel has been allowed to violate every single UN resolution that has been implemented, voted with regards and approved with regards to Palestine. Every single UN resolution. That's not an exaggeration, it's a fact. And then as Palestinians, we're asked to wait, we're asked to be patient. And I would say as Christians, we are allowed to keep hope alive. We should. It's perhaps our message. Perhaps it's a divine intervention that we are still there. I don't know. But it's not easy. And I think with all the pain we carry, every single person you have heard from today, we are still privileged Palestinians. You could say how privileged is someone who, in my case, had to stay 4 years locked in Ramallah because Israeli occupation would not let me exit Ramallah city, not the West Bank, Ramallah. Or how lucky could be someone who is living nearby Palestine and is not allowed to even to pray in Palestine. We are alive, and I think we are still allowed to carry that message. But most importantly, it's not just about our existence in terms of presence, it's about what we can do in the future. But to do in the future, we need to build from now. And to build from now, we cannot continue being patient. It's 75 years. What do I mean by not being patient? If the international community wants to solve this issue, they should stop avoiding seeing the facts that we are facing. And the Israeli government is making it the easiest, if they want to see. What was the name of, since we're in Denmark, the new dress of the emperor? What was the Hans Christian? It's naked. It's there. Look at him. It's an Israeli government that says in Article 1 of the political platform, there is Jewish exclusivity. And under this Article 1, they say we will expand Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria, in the Golan Heights. And then we get governments, after it was announced, we welcome the formation of the new Israeli government. We hope to work together. 2 days later, they get an Israeli settler, a terrorist, raiding Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. And then everyone was alarmed. You didn't expect it? Same day, Israeli settlers desecrated our Protestant cemetery in Jerusalem. People were alarmed. We expect Israel to act with accountability against those who made it. Yeah, they arrested 2 people, and then they said that they were mentally ill, and they released them. That's it. Coincidentally, there was another mentally ill person who attacked the Catholic Church of the first station of the Way of the Cross. So they are all mentally ill, those who are attacking us. But when you had a gang of 50 or more settlers attacking an Armenian restaurant a few weeks ago, not a single one of them entered the church. And you know what? Sorry, entered the jail. And you know what? They were attacking the restaurant 20 meters away of an Israeli police station. And for those of you who have been to Palestine, you realize that I cannot think of throwing a stone without having an Israeli police officer on my back. Think of. And if a Palestinian gets to throw the stone, will go to jail for years under Israeli law. Again, we're not exaggerating here. So, the Israeli government is saying, we're going to take it. The international community says, we're going to work with you. The Israeli government takes it. The international community says, we are concerned. Until when? That's why the work of organizations like yours remains particularly important. And that's why it's important for us to engage and to be with you. And that's why we're very thankful by all your efforts, because we know it's not easy. It would be much easier for you, trust me, not to be on our side. And I think some of you are smiling because you know what I'm talking about. But it also talks about the principles that you are defending. And trust me, we are extremely thankful for that. So it's true, the Nakba and everything that happened after 1948 for Palestinian Christians meant a demographic problem, a geographical problem, and a spiritual problem, because we never expected Western Christians to take the war crimes and ethnic cleansing of our country as a divine intervention. But yet we also see some other faces. And I think we are very proud of being their friends. Anyway, I think I extended myself more than I expected. And the most valuable part of those sessions always are your questions and your comments. So thank you very much.